everyone, welcome back to another episode of Ocean State Aquatics TV, and today I'm going to be going over the basics of tank maintenance for those of you who have your first aquarium. So let's check it out. So today I am here at our Seekonk location with one of our 29 gallons that we have on our big aquarium wall, and I'm going to just walk you guys through how we go through and clean our tanks on a daily basis to make them look as good as they do. So to get started, what you are going to need is your siphon tube or any tube to take the water out of your tank. You're going to need a water storage bin basically to siphon your water into. You're going to need replacement plants if you are replacing the plants in your tank if they're dirty, and anything to scrape the sides of your tanks like an algae pad or any scraper or anything like that to remove algae off the sides of your glass. So before you get started, the first thing that you're going to want to do is shut your filter off. In my case, I don't have to shut my filter off because it is a sponge filter, so if you have a hang on the back or a canister or a sump or any pump, you just want to make sure you shut that off first. If you have a sponge filter, you are okay to leave that running. The second thing that I want to note about before you get started is that when you are taking the water out of your tank, accommodate for the heater. So you want to pre-plan how much water you're going to take out of your aquarium so your heater does not get exposed to air. All right, so to get started, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to move my heater down from the vertical position so I don't end up exposing it to air like I said before. So the next thing that you want to do when you are changing the plants in your tank, you want to take those out first so it dislodges any debris and waste that may be underneath them. Just throw them in there for now. All right, so the next thing I'm going to do is start my siphon so we can start doing our water change. So for those of you that may not know, there are many ways that you can start a siphon, and I'll go through all of those right now. The first way is you can start by actually using your mouth to start the siphon. So what you want to do is insert the hard end of your siphon into the tank, and then you are going to take the bottom, make sure you wipe it off in case it's wet, and you're just going to inhale on the end of the tube, and that will start the siphon via gravity. So just like that, our siphon is started. So the second way that you can start a siphon, which is my preferred way, you can use gravity to your favor when starting a siphon if you have one of these hard gravel tubes on the back of it. So what you're gonna do is you're gonna put your siphon in your tank, you're gonna fill the tube up with water, you are going to pick it up till it starts draining, go in at an angle till the tube fills up, and flip it over, and your siphon will be going. So the next thing you are going to do is you're going to go through and remove all of the waste from the bottom of your tank. If you have a sandy substrate like me, the best tool to making sure you do not suck all of the sand out of your tank is kinking the hose. By kinking it, you are going to stop the flow of the siphon. So if you accidentally suck up a lot of sand like this, if you just kink the hose, everything will fall right back out. If you half kink it, if you just restrict the water flow enough, the sand will fall to the bottom, but the poop and the waste should stay suspended in the tube so you can still siphon it out. So you're just gonna go through and you are going to just suck all of the fish waste and uneaten food and anything out of the tank that is dirty. When you are going through and siphoning all of your sand, you just want to make sure you get under and around all of your decorations. So in this case, our rocks. So you just want to make sure you move some of your rocks out of your way. Just be careful you don't knock them into the side of your glass or drop them on the bottom, just so you can get all of the suspended debris underneath it. So in a case like this, when you accidentally suck a fish in your siphon hose, the best thing to do is just kink the hose and very gently break the siphon. You don't want to break it right away because it'll come rushing into the tank. Best thing to do is just lower it right in, and he should come out eventually. There, just like that. Sometimes smaller fish can actually get all the way sucked up into the tube and can go into your bucket. So in the case that accidentally happens, you're okay to just net them right back into the tank. But just always watch your bucket and always watch your siphon so you do not accidentally suck a fish up. So the next thing I want to touch upon is how much water you should realistically be taking out of your tank every time you do a water change. So you can do anywhere from up to a 50% water change every day, and it will not negatively affect your fish. Once you start going above a 50% water change, that's when things can start to get a little iffy, especially if you're using cold water. So you just never really want to go above a 50% water change unless it is an absolute dire situation. For regular tank maintenance, people usually do around a 25 to 50% water change every week or every other week, depending on the bio load in your tank. Something I do want to touch on is that too many water changes are never a bad thing. You don't really want to do more than one a day. Doing a water change every day will not negatively harm your tank, it will only make it better. So now that you have removed all the water for your tank that you were removing for today's water change, you are all set to go ahead and redecorate it. So in my case, it is time to put a fresh set of artificial plants in our tank. So this is the point that's fun. You can have a little bit of creativity with this. Try with different colors, different styles. You can mix and match. Every time you change the plants, you can make it look just a little bit different, keeps things nice and new. So I guess at this point the order doesn't really matter, but the next thing that you're going to want to do is wipe down the algae on the inside of your tank. I like to do this when my tank is half filled because I have short arms and sometimes can't reach the bottoms of mine. So you just want to go through with your sponge, make sure you get your sponge or scraper or whatever you're using to remove algae. You want to make sure that it is wet when you're using it, and you want to be very careful near the substrate of your tank. Whether you have sand or gravel, you want to make sure that you never have any actually picked up in your sponge because you can scratch the glass or the acrylic of your tank. So you just want to go through with long, slow motions to remove all of the algae to prevent from disturbing the bottom. So when you are scraping the bottom of your tank near the sand line, you just want to be very careful and just go right above where the sand ends so you don't pick up any particles in your sponge and you don't actually scratch your tank. Now that you have finished wiping down all the algae off the sides of your tank and you have redecorated and put new plants in, you are all set to start filling up. So once you start filling your tank, you just want to be sure that you add your water conditioner in. So there are two ways that you can fill your tank up. You can add water into a bucket and dechlorinate the water that way, or you can add the water directly into your tank. When you add the water directly into your tank, you just want to make sure that you are dechlorinating for the whole tank volume, not just the volume of the water you are putting back in. So if you are filling directly into your tank, you just want to be very careful that you are monitoring the temperature of the water going back in. Even if you are not adding water directly to the tank, you just want to make sure you match the temperature of the water of your tank as closely as you possibly can. If you end up adding water that is too cold into your tank and your tank temperature drops very drastically, that can stress your fish out a lot and can actually lead to outbreaks and diseases and parasites such as ick. So as your tank is approaching being filled completely, you are all set to return your heater to the position it was at when you started. Click. So when your tank starts getting really close to the top, you just want to make sure you monitor the level of water so you do not accidentally add too much and accidentally make it overflow, and just make sure you account for the water turbulence of your filter. After you fill your tank all the way up with water, now is the time that you can plug your filter back in if you unplugged it. It's also the time that if you are medicating your tank with any medicines, make sure you add the medicine back into your tank. When it comes down to medications, make sure you read the directions on the back of the bottle or the package and follow those directions when it comes down to doing water changes when using that medication. We don't have any medications that we need to add into this tank, so we are just going to start cleaning up. So at the end of every water change, the last thing I like to do is take my squeegee here and wipe our glass down with a little bit of Fritz's Aquarium glass cleaner to make our tanks look nice and spick and span. I have added a little bit of Fritz's glass cleaner into the water already, so I'm just wipe it on the tank and then just squeegee it off. After you finish your water change, if your tank has a lid, just always remember to close it afterwards so your fish do not accidentally jump out of your tank. So that pretty much wraps it up. So that's all we really do for basic tank maintenance for any of our smaller 29 gallons. That should get you started out, give you a good idea on what it's like to do regular weekly tank maintenance for your beginner tanks at home. If you have any other questions about anything that I didn't cover today, feel free to give any of our stores a call and keep it fresh.